Hey guys, I'm live. How you guys doing? I want to talk about a subject that I haven't gone over a lot because it's not really as relevant to my actual life and thinking as it has is to some that wonder about this aspect of me. Um, it didn't occur to me that maybe I should do an expose on it, and that is my relationship or lack thereof with drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. Um, I'm going to go into it, um, and more because of people seeming to think that be interested in that story aspect of my life, and also accusing. I don't know. People have uh, hinted at thinking that I, haven't been transparent about that or whatever. So first of all, so here goes. When I was a kid, I was a genius. Um, I was a math genius, and I was always afraid of brain damage. I was always afraid of hurting my brain, even from just being a young kid. And I always knew that drugs would hurt my brain, so I had that reason not to do drugs. Um, and Also, when I was in my junior year in high school, I took driver's ed, and I had a teacher named Mr. Wheeler, who nonchalantly and offhandedly said to the class, "Drugs take away your desire for sex." Because it was talking about that day was maybe about drinking and driving or something like that, and he made that comment, and that never went away from me. I thought, screw that, I'm not doing drugs, and not only that, I was afraid of drugs hurting my brain. So all through high school, and which I went to high school in the '80s. I didn't have any alcohol, cigarettes, or drugs of any kind, any kind. I mean, I was actually weird for this. I mean, it's like people thought I was like I wasn't I wasn't in any group. I wasn't a jock, so I wasn't on the football team or any of that nonsense. I didn't have long hair, so I wasn't a rocker. I wasn't or druggie, whatever you call that. I didn't have that. I didn't have girlfriends because I was just a geek, and the girls I liked didn't even know I existed. And I wasn't a tough guy, so I didn't beat up people and get attention that way. I was just a nerd that played guitar at home and got beat up by my dad and slapped by my mom and picked on in school. So no drugs there. I just plus my dad was a Navy dude. He didn't nobody in my immediate family or even my extended family did drugs or alcohol. My dad didn't drink. He was mean enough without drinking. My mom didn't drink. No drugs and alcohol in my house. So then I go to college. I go to Harvard College when I was 17. I skipped second grade, so I was a year younger than the other students, and plus I was very, very small. I looked like a 11-year-old kid when I went to Harvard College, practically. In fact, one of my roommates, who didn't know me yet, said, "Where's your brother?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, isn't your brother a student?" I said, "No, I'm your roommate." Um, the first thing they did when I was a freshman, one of the first things, in fact, this happened in orientation. You have a week of orientation before you even do classes. And in orientation week, there was a club at Harvard College called Brain Damage. Their philosophy was you have a survival of the fittest of the brain cells. You do drugs until you're left with nothing but one great big supercell, and all the others die off. They were a drug what do you call it, club at Harvard College. And the leaders of it, or the members of it, were interested in me very early on. I don't know why. I was a guitar player. I was hip that way. I was playing Alan Holdsworth licks, and I don't know. They liked me for some reason, so they tried to recruit me into Brain Damage when I was a freshman at Harvard College, and I knew that I didn't want to do it, and they hounded me about it, and they said, "We got to get this guy a White Russian." And I've joked I've joked incorrectly that I thought they meant a girl, because first of all, if they would have meant a girl, I would have said yes. And secondly, I know guys don't give away girls. Guys keep girls for themselves. Guys are jealous, and guys kill and are mean and bad and evil because of their connections and hanging on to girls. And you can't get my girl. Well, I've got my girl, and you're not going to touch my girl, and all that crap. I knew they didn't mean a girl. I've just kidded about that, so I just confessed. But I knew they meant a drink. And so I knew I had to get out of there. So I broke away from them. Literally, I said, excuse me, I got to go. And like I was going to the bathroom or something, I didn't even know the architecture of the building I was in. But I finally went through all the hallways and got out of the building. I just literally left the building where they had me in there where they wanted me to join. And so I turned them down. And, after that, they dissed me completely. Then they never even, like, if you don't join brain damage just wants nothing to do with you. So I would see them once in a while, and they didn't even give me a second look, like I was a non-human. So I didn't do drugs that way, and I had not drinking, or cigarettes or drugs. And then. I when I was in the 90s, I was like bumming in Santa Monica, and I had some bad influences, and so I smoked a couple cigarettes, and maybe I smoked a pack worth of cigarettes, and then I realized I didn't want to do it, and I stopped before I got hooked. So I have done about a pack of cigarettes now in my life, and that was when I was in Santa Monica in the 90s. And then I did when I got, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, but when I got married, I got into some family, like you'd have a New Year's Eve party, or you would have a Christmas party, and some people would socially drink, and plus I was a musician, and I would sometimes go to, I played about 100 times in front of people, and you go to a gig that's a venue of alcohol, and socially you drink a little bit. Not wanting to be a party pooper. In other words, I've drinking a few, just this much of champagne or something, and then call it social drinking just for that occasion, but not regularly, and not very much. So I've had maybe about, if you take a bottle about that big and maybe multiply it by 3 or 4, that's about how much alcohol I've had in my life, and all of that's just social drinking and things like, never got hooked on it. And never blacked out, never got really, really badly drunk. I've just had a little bit of social drinking in my life there. And I never enjoyed the drinking, as far as if it buzzed me a little, I didn't like that. And I have several reasons why I don't like alcohol for me. Some of them I've already alluded to. But a big one is I don't believe in AA, because AA is nothing but religion for drunks. It's forced Christianity for people that have drug problem, alcohol and drug problems. And I'm not going to be a Christian, and I'm not going to do Bill's story, and I'm not going to do the 12-step program, and I'm not going to go to an AA meeting. So that's one reason I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to be forced to go to AA meetings, which I don't believe in. God can't help. God can't. There's first of all, there may not even be a God, and He's not going to help you get off drugs. It's all a mental thing. It's all a social thing. It's all a mandated program for people that are forced to do it because people are against it and don't want them. They better go, or else they're even in more trouble. You know, I've seen people that have been prison Christians. You know, when I've toured churches here and there, a lot of the highest people actually are only Christians because they went to jail and they had to turn good side. They had to do Christianity to get out of the jail scene. And I didn't, and I don't have that either. So I don't want the social connections, you know, to alcoholism that exist. So that's another reason I don't want to do alcohol. And also I don't like the actual effect of it. I don't like feeling like my mind is kind of hazy. And all that. I don't like the feeling that I'm not in control for a while. And then you come and then what? Out of that, you get to be addicted and have to go to AA meetings. Screw that. And as far as any drug, the only drug I've ever done is pot, and I've done it 7 times. As smoking it, I smoked it 7 times in the early 2000s. It just I went to a concert and got with a crowd that wanted to do it, and I was a musician, and we just hung out for a while. And I smoked pot 7 times, and then at the end of that I did 1 edible of pot. After that, the eighth time I actually had pot was an edible, and that's all the pot I've done. And I haven't done any other drug besides pot. I haven't done any of the others. I don't know how they feel or anything. But I will say one thing good about the time I did the edible. That's when I got my head around the Third Stone from the Sun by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. It was when I did that edible that it freed my mind to be able to understand Third Stone from the Sun by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And I wouldn't have got that otherwise. So there you have it. That's my whole drug scene in my whole life. I've done pot 7 times. I smoked pot 7 times. I did an edible, and that was in the early 2000s. And I've done maybe few bottles worth of wine and champagne type stuff in my life, and I smoked 1 pack of cigarettes. And as far as beer, I never liked it. If I had to do social drinking, I never drank beer. It's gross. I would always do wine or champagne. I've had like 0 beers in my life. Beer is disgusting to me. And that's it. That's my whole drug history. And I omit it because there's nothing to it. And plus I mean what I say when I say I don't do drugs. And it's not an issue with me. I just realize that people wonder about it, so I'm doing this video, or that's why. My dad would have put me through walls even more. My dad would have. I doubt if I'd have survived my childhood if I would have brought drugs in the house or alcohol in the house. My dad just didn't tolerate that. All the other kids were going to Van Halen and getting high, and I was like, my dad was like. It wasn't happening, and I didn't want to do it because I didn't want brain damage, and I didn't. And Mr. Wheeler said drugs take away your desire for sex, which I heard that in my junior year of high school, and I had music and I had my sexuality. That was enough for me. I didn't need drugs or alcohol or drinking or whatever. My sexuality and my music and guitar was enough for me, and still is. I don't need drugs. I'm a naturally healthy person, and why if it isn't broke, don't fix it. You know, I'm not broke, and I don't need drugs. Drugs would only hurt the situation, and I've leaned into it sometimes, like when we did Kissing Death. The Madrid and I agreed that I would lean into the idea that I did drugs. I pretended like I was shooting up fentanyl and all that. And Madrid had to show me how to act like I was doing fentanyl because I didn't even know. But I did it for the video. And Madrid thought I did a pretty good job for having not even had the experience in real life. And as far as opening my mind for music with drugs, yes, the edible didn't let me get my head around Third Stone from the Sun. But primarily, I just meditate with music itself. And since I have Asperger's syndrome, My mind's already open, dude. I don't need to have drugs screw it up. My mind is unnaturally open to the things that a lot of people need to do drugs to get. And not only that, if my dad was Jim Morrison of the Doors, I've already got that somehow in my system, one way or the other, anyway, because I was conceived in the spring of '66, and by that time, if Jim Morrison was my dad, he was already doing drugs. And maybe that's why I don't do them, partly too, because I have a natural fear of it. I don't desire it. I fear it. It's scary. And I don't need it because my mind's already open. I'm already got my doors. The doors of perception are already basically wide open for me anyway. So why do drugs? Just to make me incoherent and suffer and have to come down from it and maybe have to get roped into AA and all kinds of bad crap. So that's my drug history. Love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.